Hey, welcome back. So the concept of 10,000 makes, I forgot to tell you guys, is really based on not only the 10,000 lakes in Minnesota, but the 10,000 hours it takes to master a skill. So I am definitely not a master. I have invested in a bunch of tools and I've spent a lot of time working on this craft, but I'm hoping that we can all level up together. So this is just me as an amateur tinkering around in the shop, and love to show you some of the things that I've learned. So for this first build that we're gonna do, I'm gonna make an end grain cutting board. I've made a ton of these before. I love them. They make great gifts. They turn out really nice and just beautiful. It takes a little bit of monkey business to get them going, and there's some math involved in terms of exactly what cuts to bring in for a good pattern. But I've got a couple ideas for a fairly simple one that we can do for this first project. And I'm actually gonna make 3 of them, because why not? Maybe we can sell the other 2. But the first one's gonna go to my older sister, see if it ends up sticking the plan, and then we'll start making some sawdust. So, sounds good, let's do this. There, let me show you. So we've got an end grain cutting board, which means that it's not the side grain of the wood, but you tip it up on end and it's the end grain. All right, to make our design, I don't want to bug you with this, but I want it to equal 12 inches. We want each of these cuts to be 1.5 inches deep for a 1.5 inch deep board by 22 pieces would equal 33 inches. Now, the interesting part that I screwed up is every time you mistakes were made. So let me go back to the math class. I screwed up. All right, we're back from math class. Is every time you chop that piece, it's gonna take an 1/8 inch of sawdust out of that saw blade. That's called the kerf of your saw pieces. That's 21 cuts. That means 21 times we lose 1/8 of an inch. I had subtracted those 2. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to add them. So call it 36. So now that's our length. For each of these boards, we're gonna need 36 inches. And so here's my cut list. See how I put 31 in there? That shouldn't be 31, it should be 36. This walnut, maple, cherry, purple heart. Then what I did, I almost feel embarrassing showing you that process. That's a little peek inside what's going on in here. It's just a disgusting process. But I don't have exactly what I was looking for, but that's all right. We're just looking for the right color. I found a Peruvian walnut, a little darker than regular walnut. Instead of the maple, look at this awesome grain pattern in this canary wood. This reddish color it's deeper than a cherry, but this is tiger wood, Goncalo tiger wood, write that down. And then here's the purple heart, which is self-explanatory. Now we get to go make man glitter, sawdust. All right, so the first thing that we have to do with these boards, I don't know if you can see this. Let me go to my B-roll here. But this is really rough sawn. And that, once we cut that, is not going to glue up. We want these to be straight as an arrow so that when we put those 2 boards together, it makes an absolute invisible glue line when we clamp everything up. So the way that we need to do this to get a perfect line on this board is trim it up on the jointer. All right, on to jointing. Is that what they call these? China marker. And as you throw it through the jointer, so you make sure to mark the whole thing so you can see where it is, where the blades are hitting it, where it's not, how much left you have to go. Jointer, that's why they call it that. See, you're connecting the dots here. have our 36-inch board lengths, and we can go back to our key for our cut list. And 36 by, most of those are 4 inches. They're also not the correct type of wood, but I know that they mean Peruvian walnut, canary wood. Just stick with it. I'm going to use a feather board. So I want to make sure that my board stays flush against the fence. The board will go through this way, but not be able to push back the other way. Alright, so we got all of our cuts up. The idea here is after you glue all this up, slice it all up, 1.5 inch slices, flip all those up. The idea behind the pattern is that we want to then take every other piece and flip it the other way. Alright, next up is clamping. These things are medieval looking. And then what these things do is they call them 4-way clamps. They're going to put pressure this way, and then on either side they're going to draw these faces into the panel so it squeezes that shut across. Downward pressure on the center throughout all of it, and then by cranking these we're going to draw the panel in to set up with glue, which only takes an hour. Been pressurized is going to be in its final form, but everything that's set on top, all this gummy glue over the top here, can be scraped off, and that will save me a ton of sanding and scraping after it dries, because it dries just crystalline rock hard. So while it's still gummy, after an hour, then I'll scrape this and set it aside. It takes 24 hours to cure, but it no longer needs clamping pressure during that time. This has been an hour. You can see, you know, some spots are dried up, and you can still peel it off of the top. A little elbow grease saves a ton of time on sanding. Plane that perfectly flat, because as we have this, well, I'll just show you. This is that 36-inch panel. Everything's glued up side by side here. Got a bunch of junk on here. This is really rough and slightly uneven between each piece as they tip up. So if this is really wonky and rough cut over the top, that won't glue up nicely and we'll have gaps in between every single piece. In order to do that quickly and easily, we're going to use this beast. Here's the other glue up I made with the same board since I had everything out. I think I said we were going to make 3 cutting boards. That didn't turn out. Sit. Safety first. Looking good, my man. just fits right in those grooves. I'm gonna use this to chop up that cutting board. Recognize this? This was our board, and then we cross-cut it at 1.5" intervals. And so then now I'm gonna label everything, so once I sand it, then I know exactly how to get it all back together. So now I could sand all this by hand. There's all these fuzzies off of the edge. You see that by my thumb? So that's from the saw blades. If you get close here, you can see there's gaps in between each of these pieces. So all of these sides that are gonna glue up into each other have to be sanded one last time. You could do that by hand, but we're gonna do that on the drum set. I think it's full. Turn this off. There, so it was so loud. So get my clamps ready and we're gonna glue these. So we've got the final glue up done, both cutting boards. I'll give you a close-up look of that. So the seams turned out really nice. Everything's super tight. Sand the bejeebers out of these. I could do that with and spend the rest of my life here in the shop sucking dust. Or welcome back. So here we are 12 months later. Everything is all sanded up, but I want to get fancy with it and put some finger holds underneath to pick it up. It'll look real nice. And the way I'm going to do that is to build a jig. We love jigs around here. So what I've got here, take some scraps. The cutting tip of this router bit, I'm going to use a rabbiting router bit, is 2 3/4 from the edge, away from my cutting edge, and we're going to put this right on that 2 3/4 line. And then I'll need to put a stop on the back so that I can run it forward, hit the stop, run it back to the other side,
and then I'll do that for about a 1/4 inch. You take tiny bites here in the shop, so we'll go 1/4 inch, and then I'll drop it again, maybe do another 1/4 inch, so it's like a 1/2 inch deep.
Using double-sided tape on a finished piece where I don't want to mess around with residue or adhesives being left on there. Take some painter's tape and put it on the back of whatever piece. I'll turn the camera around so you can see.
So, put painter's tape. I want this to be right there so I can run my router up. That'll be my stop block. You put a piece of tape where you want that to be, and then you put a little dab of super glue on the tape, and then you stick the tape on both sides to itself. Alright, so now I've got this piece locked in. I just did a quick nail gun into some scrap. This board is not moving anywhere. Quick and dirty and easy, and I'm going to route this now. Alright, so I've got these routed out here. These things, you just rip them off. It goes off super easy. Painter's tape. And that one is ready for final sanding.
Alright, welcome back. It's been about 6 years. Let's take it out of this jig.
Wasn't totally throwaway work. So I'll just slide it out of this jig, flip it around, and then these sharp edges here, we're going to take a round over bit.
I'm just going to throw in some tunes, and I'm going to work my way through all the grits, and I'm going to speed it up for you. So, see you in a bit. Arrived. We've done it. Congratulations. So we're finished sanding, and we're on to my absolute favorite part, we like to call the grand reveal. So what we're going to do first is condition it with mineral oil. Once that soaks in, then we're going to rub in some beeswax, carnauba wax that's mixed with mineral oil. And right now, I'm just going to coat this with mineral oil. And this end grain just soaks it up. So you're going to have to coat it with multiple coats because this wood is very thirsty right now. But that canary wood just pops. Show you a bit without the glare. So while the mineral oil is soaking into those wood fibers, we are gonna flip the boards over and install the feet. I like these grippy little clear feet, but there's a ton of them on the market. One thing to note though, when you're buying the feet, if you have your own screws, pick stainless steel screws, because there'd be nothing worse than gifting a beautiful cutting board that ends up rusting in someone's sink because you didn't have stainless steel screws. All right, so let's flip these things over and I'll show you how I install the feet.
And then how I position the feet is sort of arbitrary, but I use this little stop gauge for, I'll set it to 1 inch. And then basically put it on one side of it and slide it up the sides. Bada bing. Once I have it, I take this little awl, it's my grandpa's, and find the center here. So that will help for starting my drill bit. I'll show you a good trick for a depth stop. Got my drill. First of all, it is a brad point drill bit. Now, I don't want to drill accidentally through my cutting board. What I'm going to do is take just regular old masking tape. I'm going to put the tape on, and then I can actually just run the drill. And that creates like a dowel around my drill bit, if you can see that. So now I won't be able to drill deeper than that point. So now I'm going to drill all of these holes. Use a regular, can use a screwdriver and tighten those up. So we're going to add in, oop, we got old branding here, but you just kind of wipe it off like some balm on there, and this is going to make it like furniture grade luster, and then also just protect it from hard use.
Super excited to call it complete. I've always wanted to say this: like and subscribe and hit the bell notification for my next project video. I forgot my sign off. Keep your chisels sharp, keep your tater tot hot dish warm. See you in the shop.
Just making music with this. There was no suction going through there.
I was wondering why it was bothering my lungs, because I was like, you know, with and saying, "Whoa, it's really dusty in here. What's going on with that?" Mistakes were made.